So as promised, here's one of my art videos. These paintings here that I'm just showing you before I get started are the paintings. I do these for auction. Now, I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep this up. This really probably only until I've got my website sorted, when I'm going to start listing my own products and having more control over my paintings. At the moment, I sell on eBay and I'm not really finding that very satisfactory. But one thing it does force me to do. People may think, why does she sell these paintings so cheaply on eBay? Well, because one, I don't want a big backlog of paintings. You know, I have them sometimes all over the house drying, and they don't dry so well in my garage, so I have to have them all over the house, and so I need to get rid of them. Two, I basically sometimes wouldn't paint if I didn't paint these little auction pieces that I do on eBay. They're such great motivation for me because they don't take that long. You know, you're not sort of slaving over them for months on end. And they really do force me to reevaluate my painting skills, readjust, recalibrate my painting skills without it being sort of some big palaver. And at the end, you know, you have these lovely little paintings that look great, framed, they're really alive and bright and just joyful, and you know, you can have those around your house. So I sell them, that's why I sell them cheap. So if you want to buy any of these paintings, and I do more every week, they are in my eBay store, which I will link below. They're up for auction, so they start really cheap, so you could bag yourself a bargain. All right, so this painting is, funny enough, the last one that I just showed you. It's the Dandelions. Now, anybody who watched my last video will know I'm big on organic gardening, which means I do not demonize dandelions. That doesn't mean I want them taking over my garden, but I also do not demonize them. And they also give me fond memories of our little pet rabbit who we had for 11 years and who died last year. I just want to also say I am still really terrible at setting up how to film these painting videos. I see other artists doing it, and I think, how are they getting that kind of flat angle where the painting that they're doing is just kind of straight on at the screen? And also my light is either too glaring or it's not light enough. So if anybody wants to give me any tips on that, please do. Anyhow, I think you should be able to see it okay. So this is one of the studies that I'm selling on eBay. And I do them on this kind of oil paper that I use. I don't like the stretched linen. Well, they're not even really linen, are they? Those little cheap canvases. I mean, most people start on them. I started on them. You can buy them from Poundland, Home Bargains here in the UK, probably Home Depot, all those places, cheap places, art supplies in the US too, and wherever, again in Australia. You know the kinds of stores we're talking about. We have them all over now. Family Dollar, whatever. Anyhow, you know, they're pretty cheap, but they are really awful for oil painting. I really don't like them. I have still used them on occasion. Funny enough, I did this painting of daffodils the other week, and you know, I just didn't like it. And the reason I didn't like it was because I was using the canvas, having said I wouldn't use them again, but realizing I actually still have a little stock of them in my art studio, so I'm probably going to persevere and keep using them. But I like this paper. Now, this paper is an acquired taste because it does absorb the oil, but I kind of quite like that because it means that I can very quickly build a layer of paint, oil paint, and it will absorb into the paper. And that has two effects. One, it means the oil absorbs and dries very quickly so that I can build on top of that without having to wait for it to dry. So that's what makes it a very quick project. I can paint very quickly because the first layer is absorbed by this artist's oil paper, and then on top of that, the first layer of oil that soaks into the paper kind of reinforces the paper, so that actually when the complete painting is completely dry, you have this kind of almost flexible, kind of quite robust artwork. It's not as though it feels like paper. It's quite bendable. It's quite thick. So it's I find it really, I wasn't sure if it would work. I didn't know if the paper would disintegrate, but it seems to, if anything, strengthen from being painted upon. So here, what I'm doing here is trying to just get the markers in, if you like. So I've got the dark background, the shadows, and now I'm trying to contrast that with the lighter shapes. So what I'm doing is just seeing how it kind of looks on the paper. And if you'll notice on the photograph, I have front lit the photograph so that the shadow is forced behind the flowers, which kind of then, when you have this kind of black, darker view behind the flowers, a shadow rather, it illuminates then those flowers. So they look really good. And that's just a really good tip when you're painting, is when you do it on, I must have missed a bit there, sorry. I do sometimes, that does happen. My phone cuts out or runs out of battery. And so you can see that I've again gone over that background again to further enhance it. Now, when I look at that now, I remember what I was doing here. I was painting this in the daylight from life, whereas the photograph here was photographed for you later. And so I was able to get a darker cast shadow. So really, if I was painting this painting again, I would definitely do a darker cast shadow. And also you can see on my painting, the shadow was on the other side. So the photo isn't exactly describing what I was painting, but you get the idea. So, but going back to what I was saying about the shadow is then you can layer up. So you can see also I'm layering up on this paper, which has already had its first layer, but is happily now taking the more thick impasto paint on top. And the other thing is, is to simplify this flower. I mean, what you're looking for is the gentle shifts in the saturation of the colour, the depth of colour, the value of the colour, rather than trying to paint every single petal. You're just trying to suggest it to the viewer, what they're seeing, rather than create this sort of photographic replica of the flowers. So once I put the background in, then I was able to block in, obviously, the foliage. I do prefer to block in foliage first, because it's much easier to paint flowers on top of foliage rather than, try and paint your foliage around the flowers. That tends to make a bit of a mess. I guess if you're a hyper-realist painter, it would make no difference because you're going to go into that level of detail. But if you paint like me, loose, and you like it just sort of impressionistic and natural and loose, then you are looking to, then you'll be better off painting the flowers over the foliage. So that's not to say you can't go back and restate the foliage, but and when I say restate, I mean paint some bits that seem to have got lost. You can restate them, add a bit of dark, add a bit of light, add a highlight, add a flash, because the leaves often shine, so you can add the shine and build it that way. But you really want the bulk of your foliage done first. And what you're trying to always do when you're painting a vase of flowers, or perhaps any subject, but particularly a vase of flowers, is you're looking for somewhere to hang your light on. I always think so. You've got these kind of dark colours, and then you've got these flowers, and the flowers always want to be the focus of the painting. Do apologise about my dog. He has this habit of just doing this random barking. I think it's a little bit attention seeking, but anyhow. So you're looking for something to hang your light on. So if you think about your lights, in this case would be the light on the jar and the dandelion. Well, if your background isn't dark enough, if you haven't gone in dark enough with your background, your foliage and all that sort of, all the background stuff, your lights are not going to shine. They're just not going to stand out and be illuminating as you want them to be and as you can see them. And as you can see here, this is what I'm talking about restating. So the paper's absorbed some of the colour, so I'm now restating that depth of colour, and I'll just keep going until I get that contrast that I'm looking for and that darkness that I can hang my lights on. All right, so as I said, the light that I was painting under in the tutorial, just wasn't really picking up this. I mean, this is the painting properly, with all the light and the textures of the paint, and you can see the lusciousness of the oil shining, and you can see the dandelions contrasting beautifully against the dark background, so they're like little lights going off, so they really catch the eye. And also just want to say about the background is also very desaturated colour, so that also helps to amplify the colour of the dandelions, the lights in the foreground. So I hope that helped on some level with your painting, and don't forget to check out my paintings in the link below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and all that jazz, and comment, and I'll see you again in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.